the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. If your team is projected to be the number one team in the NCAA college basketball season by Andy Katz this week, then you are a fan of the Tennessee Volunteers, who started out 2-0 and have an SEC All-American first-round pick in Dalton Connect. Everything coming up Tennessee off a bye week, where nothing happened over the weekend for Tennessee football. Nothing at all, but it's NFL Super Friends on this very edition.
I thought this would be the one time we didn't have to hear about Tennessee football. Just the one time that we could have a normal intro, considering.
I mean, Chase was right. Nothing did happen.
I mean, something happened.
No.
A lot of disappointment.
Look, I'm back. I'm rebounding. Like, I'll be in the building for Georgia, Tennessee with my wife. I can't wait. Not only are we beating the dogs, we're beating them, and it's going to be delightful. We're taking the goalpost part 2. I'm going to be very, very cold, because it's going to get cold when the sun goes down. But no, it's going to be a good time. But we have a couple more days before those dogs go down in Knoxville, Tennessee. But alas, this is an NFL show. This is the NFL Super Friends. Every single Monday night, going up every Tuesday morning for you good folks. With me, as always, Evan Sowards of 49ers Hub and everywhere on social media, with his wonderful dog, Milo. Evan, good evening. How are you? Oh,
Doing pretty good.
Oh, he's doing the Curb Your Enthusiasm bit.
So good.
Pretty good.
We are so back. We're so back.
Everything's up. Richard Sherman's arguing with 49ers Twitter. Everybody's back.
No, they are arguing. Well, I guess you could make the argument that Rich is 49ers Twitter, but he's arguing with Rich.
Yeah, there you go. Also here of SBNation.com, Mr. JP Acosta, who will unfortunately be dealing with Evan Sowards and his 49er glory on this very show. JP, good evening. How are you?
Doing good. FAU basketball is undefeated. Top 10 team in the country.
They won?
Yeah.
Are they?
Yes.
Are they 1? Or are they 10 in Andy Katz ball?
They're 10 in the nation.
Oh. Yeah.
Who cares about this dude, Andy Katz?
Oh, okay. Exactly. I just saw number 1.
You're talking like a team that beat FAU last year.
That was last year. It's all about now. It's all about this week, JP, as you know. It's all about this week.
FAU's undefeated. Things are going great.
All right. Well, hope everything goes well with our coach in waiting 6 years from now when Rick Barnes retires. Also here of USA Today and Behind the Steel Curtain and the Pump Fake, Mr. Jarrett Bailey. Jarrett, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. I don't know anything about college basketball, so I cannot contribute to this conversation.
What is it like for you at the beginning of these shows? Because Evan has a little bit, but you're not in on any of this stuff.
No, I'm not really a big college football guy. Like, I watch it casually. I'm not a huge I don't know anything about college basketball. I'm football, pro wrestling, and a casual hockey fan, man. That is.
Did you watch the Penn State game on Saturday?
I did watch the Penn State game on Saturday, and it was rinse and repeat of what it was against Ohio State, and they just fired their offensive coordinator because of it.
You know what the worst part about hearing all about Tennessee and yada, 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 every single podcast? I'm an Oregon fan.
Right.
I'm from Oregon. I went to school in Eugene, not at Oregon, but at the community college. I have partied with Kenyon Barner.
Beautiful city.
With LaMichael James. I am Oregon through and through. And you never hear me talk on this NFL pod about the AP ranked number 6, 9-1 Oregon. Yet every time we have to listen to you talk about the 21 ranked 3-loss Tennessee team. It's infuriating. And you know what? Honestly, the fans deserve better. They certainly deserve better. And you know what, Chase? You deserve better when it comes to college football, but you don't know that. That's your own thing. It's Stockholm Syndrome. It's not your fault.
I mean, hey, Nico's coming. You got the best quarterback in the last class. He's taking over next year. I mean, it's a good time. No, y'all are going to be very familiar with Nico Iamaleava in the 20.
I know what I'm familiar with, and that's not having 3 losses.
Eugene's
not even having 2 losses. Beautiful city. Thank you.
Beautiful city. Very good vibes.
Thank you.
Well, there you
Great
go.
City.
Folks, we have some NFL to talk about. The NFL season just very much underway here. We wrap up instant reactions, though. We sometimes we have an instant reaction on a Monday Night Football game, depending on how it goes. I think we have to have one. The duck ball heard around the world, which gives the Broncos a dub over the Buffalo Bills in really hilarious fashion. I even said what happened. JP's already hysterical as to the now 4-5 or 5-5 Broncos.
5-5.
5-5 Broncos, and the Bills are now 5-5.
The Bills
correct?
are 5-5.
That is unbelievable. I don't think any of us before the year would have had the Bills and Broncos with the same record at this point in the season here in mid-November. But that's what happened. And the Denver Broncos just out here quietly taking care of business of late. What is your immediate reaction to what happened tonight, Jarrett Bailey, as the resident Josh Allen guy?
My instant reaction is that Sean McDermott should not be the head coach of the Buffalo Bills in 2024.
Is it over?
It should be. I think this team has seen its peak with him at the helm. And when you've got a guy like Ben Johnson who's going to be available as a head coach, there's zero reason why Buffalo should stick with what they've been doing in terms of we kind of, like I said, I think we've seen the peak. And right now, the constant playing down to competition the way that they have, and we talked about it last week in the podcast. You dicked around against the Jets, you dicked around against the Patriots, and now you dicked around against the damn Broncos, who, credit to Russ, numbers-wise, he looks much better. But, I mean, I saw JP tweeting about Russ all night, and I was laughing while watching it. There's zero reason they should have lost this game. But it was, again, a typical Bills loss where the first interception, not on Josh Allen. It hit Gabe Davis right in the hands. That's not on him. Second one, yeah, I can't defend you there, 17. I don't know what the hell you're thinking. Like, he threw, I can't remember who he threw it to, but it got so easily undercut by the Broncos DB. It looked like the pass was intended for him. And a lot of, like, obviously, yes, Josh has been careless with the football in these losses. But on top of that, how much of this is, okay, the offense never goes up tempo. And when they do, we see what happens. They end up in the end zone very quickly with a touchdown pass to Dalton Kincaid. And Sean McDermott just doesn't seem to have any of these guys ready when it comes to playing games that they should win. They should very easily be right now. They shouldn't have 5 losses. At the very worst, they should be 6-3 right now. At the very best, they should be somewhere around 7-2, 8-1. But that's what happens when you don't have a coach to get you ready for stuff like this. And right now, I think we've seen the peak of Sean McDermott. I feel like there's probably some undercover tension in the room in terms of what's going on with Dorsey, McDermott, and Allen as a whole. I'm sure Stephon Diggs has a lot of thoughts as well. Like I would be very surprised if there's not just a lot of tension that might not be getting talked about internally with the Bills coaching staff and their top stars right now. And it doesn't help when like Diggs didn't have a big game tonight. Kincaid continues to be a nice part of that offense. Gabe Davis was a ghost once again. And James Cook is fumbling the football. You got miscommunications with him and Josh Allen that leads to another fumble. He got very lucky on a long touchdown run where he dribbled it to himself after Justin Simmons forced a fumble. Like,
so let me ask you this real quick, because before you stop talking about it, Brian DeBoll has not been a good head coach for the Giants. Should they have just tried to keep him?
I mean, hindsight being 2020, maybe, but there was tension between McDermott and Dable, which is very evident. Like, if you go back and watch that post-game handshake with Dable and McDermott, clearly something was fractured in that relationship. And I think a lot of it is what I'm talking about with the offense. Like, Dable knows how to best utilize Josh Allen. That's not how McDermott wanted to play. And we're seeing now Ken Dorsey is more than willing to kind of kiss the feet of Sean McDermott and bow to his every command, it seems, with the offense. And we're kind of seeing the end results of it. So
you're not even saying, you know, in this situation, it's the head coach could be salvaged. You're saying just gets time.
Clean house. There's no reason to run this back. There's zero reason to run this back. Bring in somebody, like, get forward thinking with this. Like, bring in Ben Johnson, a guy who has done wonders for the Detroit Lions, and Jared Goff, and you give him hell. If I don't think the Giants are gonna move on from Dable, but if they do, bring Dable back as OC. Ben Johnson, Brian Dable. There you go. There's your head coach and OC in 2024 for the Bills. Again, assuming that Dable.
I would say just bring Dable back as the head coach.
I mean, maybe.
I think he's done a good job. I mean, like what he did with the Giants last year is like proof right now of like I think the Bills desperately need that.
They need an offensive minded, like when things. It's kind of like presidential elections. Like, after 8 years of a Republican, it's very rare that we get another 8 years of a Republican. We usually go. I think that's what the Bills need right now. They've had a defensive-minded head coach for too long. We've seen the peak of it. Go with an offensive-minded head coach, and I think Ben Johnson's your best move. Again, I don't think the Giants are going to fire Brian Daboll, but in this fun situation where if he does become available, I would bring him back. But at the very, very least, I think that they need to clean house. And look, we talk about the defensive injuries a lot. Obviously, those factor into it. The defense allowed 15 points for most of the game. And they were set up in horrible situations multiple times because of turnovers. That wasn't on the defense. That was on Josh Allen being careless, and that was on not being prepared for another bad team that they should have beat at home, nonetheless. So cleaning house feels like the best thing that the Bills can do right now.
First of all, that was the funniest game of all time.
Weirdest.
That was just the funniest game of all time. The way that all ended with the PI, which shouldn't be PI because the ball was underthrown.
Why should that not be PI?
The ball was underthrown.
So
don't reward quarterbacks for shitty passes. You already reward them enough.
Is there a part of you that's wondering if Russ did that on purpose, though?
Oh, he absolutely did that.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay. Well, then I feel less dumb because that was my thought. I was like, oh, he did that on purpose. That was really smart. Like it's a great play. Like that's a great play call. Just throw it up, throw it under a little bit. The corner, like the defender, is just in a terrible spot there, and it's almost gonna be impossible for them to hit a spot foul.
Which is why it shouldn't be PI because it's very easy to reward the quarterback for it.
Oh yeah.
But another issue with Arthur Smith is that you don't take any of these shots to help your vertical passing game. But anyway, continue on.
One thing I also want to say is I don't think Sean McDermott is the biggest problem with the Bills. I think the construction of the Bills is a problem. First of all, you have no other receiver besides Stephon Diggs. That's always been their problem. The interception Josh Allen threw that Jarrett said, like, yeah, you can't defend that one. That was to Deontay Hardy. Good luck throwing the ball on a field out to a 5'7" receiver. Like, that's just good luck with that. I think Brian Daboll worked in Buffalo because he also told Josh Allen to chill the fuck out. Like he was the one who kept Josh Allen in check. Ken Dorsey is not the one who keeps Josh Allen in check, but I also think Ken Dorsey has done a good job with the offense. I think.
What's the biggest difference you've seen, like outside of like keeping him in check? Like, what is the fundamental difference you've seen from 2 years of Ken Dorsey and what you saw with Brian Daboll, specifically with this game?
Brian Daboll is willing to run the ball with Josh Allen more, and I think that's very multi-level. First of all, I think the elbow injury last year and the shoulder injury this year kind of scared the Bills off from letting Josh Allen run, because of course, like if that's your franchise guy, you can't let him get hurt multiple times. But you're also taking away a major part of Josh Allen's game. Like he can do that stuff. The fourth down pass that he sailed that was incomplete on 4th and 2, he could have just ran that and gotten the first down. I mean, the dude is built like a mid-sized sedan. Like just go forward and get the first down. It's 2 yards.
Yeah.
Also, I just think the Bills' roster construction has been bad. They're a very top-heavy team. The defense was very top-heavy. They didn't have, even before everybody got injured, they didn't have any depth. Like they were starting out Tre'Davious White as their starting corner, which is fine, but he was coming off another major injury. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are both older and injury prone. You're playing Taylor Rapp a lot, who isn't very good. It's just, they built this team for the window to be open for the last couple of years. But now that they're all getting old and now that they're aging, it looks like this. And bad Josh Allen game. This was a bad Josh Allen game. I think it said a lot, not really said a lot, but the Broncos' run defense is bad, and the Bills were like, okay, we'll just run the ball. We don't have to throw it. But this was a bad Josh Allen throwing the ball game. But overall, this was an incredibly funny game because Russ was not good. Russ was not good today. Like he did the little flip pass and had the touchdown to Courtland Sutton. That was really cool. But outside of that, if his first read wasn't there, he was running. If he went past another read, he was not. He couldn't function. He just one read and go. And The Bills eventually caught on, played a lot of drop 8 with a spy, which slowed down the Broncos offense until the last drive of the game when they decided to not do that. So I don't think Sean McDermott is the major problem, but I don't know if he's going to be the one to be around next year to solve it.
And to build off of what JP just said, like talking about how the defense is getting old, and another underlying problem with the Bills is they haven't drafted well, which is a big problem for building for the future when, okay, Josh Allen's going to be making a ton of money. And you look at the guys that are probably not going to be there next year, or like Poyer, probably not going to be there next year. He just signed a 1-year extension this past year. Hyde, I think, has 1 more year on his contract, so he'll be there. But, you know, they drafted Kyler Elam in the first round last year. He doesn't see the field. He doesn't dress. Boogie Basham, Ed Oliver a few years ago. Ed Oliver's been all right. They gave him a big deal in the offseason. But, you know, when you draft a guy in the first round, you expect, some Pro Bowls, maybe an All-Pro. He hasn't quite been that yet. AJ Epinesa has been a nice piece. So is Rousseau. But, like, they haven't been what they need to be in terms of being first-round picks.
Yeah.
Man. Is it over? Do we close the book on the Bills right now? Do we just say that the contention window is over?
Did you guys hear what Trayvon Diggs said just moments ago?
No.
Trayvon, not Stephon.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That would be Stephon's brother. Moments ago, he said, man, and then said 14 got to get up out of there.
Well,
that is the best little brother of all time.
Dog,
brothers just do this. Didn't ATN do that with Florida earlier on this year?
Yeah.
Yes.
I gotta say, think about that though. This happens after the trade deadline.
David Carr does it with Derek Carr all the time. Like he said, Derek Carr was going to win the MVP.
Good brothers, right here. Those are some good brothers. That's what you do.
Derek Carr's so true.
Yeah, he's really bad. That's what good brothers do. Shout out to Trayvon Diggs for being a great brother. I don't know if I would say like it's over for the Bills because I don't know. I just think they can turn it around. But right now they're
the rest of the way.
Right now they're 5-5. They still have to play the Chiefs. They have to play the Eagles, and they have to play the Cowboys.
Yeah. Their next 4 games are hosting the Jets, then at Eagles, then a bye week, and then they play at Kansas City, and then they host Dallas.
Ooh.
And you can't even like truly write off that Jets game because they lost to the Jets.
They lost to the Jets, yeah.
Yeah. Like I mean, the Chargers, will be bonkers on the road there. That'll be a back and forth game.
So
that's
right
Saturday
now,
night, and then at Miami to close. I would. Oof.
Yeah.
So right now, the Bills have the same record as the Raiders.
Yes.
And are behind the Colts in terms of the in the hunt picture.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think they kind of dug themselves into a hole.
Let's do the Raiders real quick because they're 2-0 since Antonio Pierce took over, and this is
come on,
buy
man.
or sell. Raiders showing they can be frisky with the right head coach hire this offseason. Evan,
absolutely. Okay, if we're doing offseason like next year, looking ahead. Okay, I'll play this game.
Are they going to be frisky if they make the right head coach hire?
No. The 49ers beat the Jaguars by 31 points. Why am I talking about the Raiders?
We'll get there, Evan. We're almost there. We're almost there. You're chomping at the bit. We're almost there. We have to talk Raiders. America wants Raiders talk.
If we're talking about next year, first of all, if Mark Davis doesn't hire Antonio Pierce to be the head coach, then there's going to be a mutiny and there's going to be a protest.
But even he shouldn't, right?
Why shouldn't he?
I mean, Antonio Pierce is not a long-term answer. I mean, unless... is there a Mike Vrabel vibe here? Is he a Mike Vrabel type?
No. Everyone stop. You sat here and told us, you tried to sell us on Dennis Allen. I don't want to hear your head coaching opinions. You tried to tell me that Dennis Allen was going to take the Saints. He's got a defensive mind. No.
Wait, who?
You.
No, not me.
You tried to sell me on
No. I would never sell you on the Saints.
I will go back and find I know the conversation in my head right now. You're like, no, he's a defensive-minded coach. The team really likes him. I think it's gonna be.
I feel like I was there for that show because that sounds vaguely familiar.
I love Evan's voice for me. Is that how I sound?
No. Antonio Pierce has come back and won 2 games in a row with a really non-impressive roster and let's face it, terrible QB. So I don't really want to hear about how he's not the long-term answer when you thought Dennis Allen could be a soft landing for the Saints.
And the guys clearly play for him too, and he seems to have command of that locker room. And again, it was against the Jets and the Giants. I hear it, but the Raiders were a dumpster fire 2 weeks ago. Now they're sitting at 5-5, and still quote unquote in the hunt. Do I think they're going to be a playoff team? Absolutely not. But there's a lot to be said for the job that he's done.
I will say, Raiders. So I can only see a little bit of what Chase is saying with Antonio Pierce, mainly because they played Tommy DeVito and Zach Wilson in the last couple of weeks. But on the other side of that, the Raiders have been in this situation before with an interim coach that the players liked. Then they hired Josh McDaniels.
Yep.
I don't think Mark Davis makes the same mistake again. It would be really bad if he did that again.
So you're suggesting you go Herm Edwards and make Antonio Pierce the DC here. Is where you're going. And we get the whole Arizona State gang back together here.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be so much illegal activity. So much illegal activity.
I mean, that's the norm already for the Raiders.
But that would be fun, honestly. Antonio Pierce and Herm Edwards is DC or some staffer, and they just get the whole gang back together.
I don't know if I want to see.
Get Dirk Cutter as the offensive coordinator. He's over there in Boise.
I don't know if I want to see Herm Edwards as a head coach in 2020.
I didn't realize that was going to keep getting worse as a sentence, but you said Herm Edwards and Dirk Cutter.
Dirk Cutter might be out of a job, man, because Boise just fired their coach. He's been the OC.
That doesn't mean that they should hire him.
It's time for him to make his 19th OC appearance in the NFL.
Chase, I hate to inform you, but Dirk Cutter retired last year.
Did he really?
Yes. Yes.
Wait, then who's Andy Avalos' OC this year? I didn't realize he retired.
Butch Hamdan. That's why the Broncos. That's why Boise State sucked.
Well, that makes sense.
Dirk Cutter retired.
The legend. He retired. I didn't realize he retired. Look at us solving Boise State problems on this podcast live.
Me on a brain trust of Herm Edwards, Dirk Cutter in 2024.
I gotta post this whole clip. The Raiders fans will hate the last 5 minutes
scenario
of this
too
podcast.
Before I know that Evan wants to talk about the 49ers, but because I saw JP. No, we were talking a little bit about it in the group chat actually. Raiders need a quarterback next year. If the Cardinals decide that they want to move off Kyler Murray to Vegas sounds kind of fun with Devontae Adams.
I feel like Kyler Murray in Vegas is a terrible.
He's going to be in his room playing COD, bruv. Who cares?
Hold on, JP. It is 12 o'clock p.m. where you live right now, and you're drinking a Celsius.
Oh, no. JP is doing this every week, Evan. JP's up here. His caffeine intake, he had a Warhead energy drink a couple weeks ago. It was caffeine doesn't affect JP like the rest of us.
Evan,
I don't know. He's built different.
Evan, you know how my day is going. I need this.
I mean, I get it. I'm just saying.
You know how my day is going.
Listen, no one takes more caffeine than me. I'm just saying
we did remember his Dan Campbell pre-energy workout he's doing. I forgot about that.
I'm just curious. So what time are you able to go to bed?
We'll see. I will. This is a choose your own adventure book today.
Wait, but do you think Kyler's? I mean, it's so hard to say who's a good fit for Vegas and what they do. Has Aiden O'Connell given any indication that he could be the guy to roll with next year?
Not the future of an NFL franchise.
No, but I don't think the Cardinals are going to trade Kyler.
Do you not?
No, because I think they are willing. I think they're going to build around Kyler with this next.
Then what do you do with the first pick?
You don't have the first pick.
Well, I mean, you have you're right there. You're still in a good spot. You don't play the Falcons every week.
I mean, do you draft Marvin Harrison Jr.?
You draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah. It is that simple,
right?
Look, he doesn't even have to change jersey colors for real.
You also could. I mean, their team roster is not that great. You could trade that pick.
You could trade back and get more picks if you wanted. But you really
they have needs all over.
Yeah, if we look at the current NFL draft order, I think right now the top 2 picks are the Bears via the Panthers, then the Giants, then the Patriots, then the Cardinals. You're in prime Marvin Harrison Jr. or offensive tackle spot, or even a pass rusher.
And they just took an offensive tackle in the last draft.
Paris Johnson Jr. He's played really good at right tackle.
So if they wanted to go get somebody for the blind side of Kyler Murray, then they absolutely could do that. I don't think that it's necessarily. I mean, I'm intrigued by what they do for sure. And the GM, the head coach, they aren't tied to Kyler. So, I mean, if they theoretically wanted to move off him, then cool. But it does seem that, Gannon, regardless of the win-loss record, the guys play for him, and he seems to have control of that locker room. So if they do decide to build around Kyler Murray, then cool. It'll open up what they can do with wherever they do finish. But if Marvin Harrison Jr. is available, then yeah. Especially because, their number one receiver right now is Hollywood Brown. And no disrespect to Hollywood Brown, but Marvin Harrison Jr., if he's available, take him.
In 2024, you can sell me on a little core of Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Hollywood Brown, Trey McBride.
Michael Wilson's been terrific this year.
James Conner will be back at running back. You could sell me on that group as a skill position group. Like I don't think it's going to be like one of the best in the league, of course, but I think that is something you can build around. So they don't have to trade Kyler because I think Kyler is still like a good quarterback. Like I think he's really good. So I think it will be interesting.
Here's the moment that Evan's been waiting for. I made him hold it for 26 minutes.
I don't want you to just assume that that's what I wanted to talk about. I just didn't want to talk about that. I want to talk also about how the Patriots are trash.
Do we have to talk about that? Like, it's just bad. And also, my preseason, can we go ahead and say my preseason, of course not, but perhaps Bill Belichick gets fired before the season ends. That was my all-time great heat check. Jarrett, you liked it. I was like, I think he's getting fired before the end of the year. Bill Belichick is well on his way to getting fired before the end of this NFL football season.
I don't think they fire him. I think it is a end of season. Bill Belichick steps down. I think they protect that Belichick thing. They're not gonna fire him.
I don't know. You say that it gets worse every week.
No. It's Bill Belichick. 7 Super Bowl wins. They agree behind closed doors for him to step down.
After the way that like Brady left and like kind of spited like the Patriots, I think they want to like do right by that Patriots era and let him step down gracefully. I don't think he's going to be the Patriots head coach past this year just because like he's like 70 years old and this clearly like I think
he's the GM of the Commanders next year.
No, I think that's where I was going. I don't think that he's going to step down. I think they're going to trade him.
Yeah. That's also possible.
I don't think so. I don't think he wants to coach. Like unless he really wants to catch Shula.
But think about who was his mentor? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Bill Parcells. What did Bill Parcells do? He wanted to go into the front office, and then he went into the front office with the Dolphins, and that was it.
Yeah, like, the problem is that Bill is the GM right now, and he stinks at it.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing, but new owners, Josh Harris wants to get in there, make a splash. Like, we see this all the time.
I think if he is coaching next year, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be a situation where Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick have a conversation. They send him to Washington in a mutually agreed thing where he can chase Shula's win record.
What's the compensation?
What is the benefit of sending him to Washington?
Well, it's out of the conference, so that helps. And then it's also like maybe kind of doing him solid by not firing him. Like you're doing him a solid by not firing him right now. Because most coaches will be fired for what we're seeing from the Pats this year.
Hold on. First of all, most coaches are not Bill Belichick.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing, but if you just remove the name, what we're seeing from the Pats this year is an awful football team.
You can't remove the name.
The 49ers and Jim Harbaugh said, we are mutually agreeing to part ways. And you're over here like, the Patriots need to fire him. 7 Super Bowls. He's the most winningest.
You got to get out ahead of this.
No,
you got to get out.
No, not like you really have to say one plausible, logical thing.
Like, how many coaches have been fired midway through this season? One?
McDaniels is the only one so far, I think.
Yeah.
One.
I mean, Arthur Smith's not because Arthur Blank, like that got reported today.
He's making it time. You have all the time in the world. You don't have. First of all, they're not going to fire him because.
Well, you know who they play this week in New York? They play the Giants. Is it DeVito? If you lose to the DeVito Giants, the biggest rival of the Patriots over the last 25 years, that's the kind of embarrassment. If you get outplayed by DeVito and company, if the Giants beat you.
That is not. First of all, that's not the biggest rival of
the
last 25 years. It's the Colts.
Yeah,
I guess it's the Colts.
It's not the Giants. They played in 2 Super Bowls. They didn't even play each other every year.
But when you think Pats, do you think Colts or do you think Giants? I think Giants.
Colts.
I think Colts because they played every year.
I think Brady Payton.
But I think the Steelers are in that. That's part of the reason I don't like. I just lumped the Steelers because they were kind of like it was the big three with Ben. Because I mean, what was that record where it was Super Bowl had to included Big Ben, Peyton, and Brady for how many years in the AFC? What was that run? Was that 15?
Like 15 or so years, and Joe Flacco was like the one red herring in there. Yeah,
yeah, but they're not gonna fire Bill. I think this is very much like Chase is gonna understand. Outside of like what happened off the field there, this is going to be very much like what happened with Brady Hoke today. Like, he's retiring at the end of the season, or he's stepping down. It's going to be one of those.
It is Bill Belichick. There's nothing in the world that would confuse me or surprise anyone for Bill Belichick to walk out to the podium with no emotion whatsoever and go, "Yeah, I'm going to step down. I'm going to stop coaching the New England Patriots,"
and then just leave.
It's been a good run, and that's it.
It's fine. Like that would be the most Bill Belichick thing ever. Also, he's 28 wins from tying Shula.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think he's getting that.
I don't know. Like, unless like he goes to a team that's already like that's already really talented. He doesn't have to build it because he'll.
But who's doing that? Who makes sense in that regard? Is it the Chargers? Is that it?
No. I think we all know what team we're talking about.
Who?
It's the Cowboys.
Oh, wow. That's full Parcells. You can't go full Parcells here. Because isn't that what Parcells did immediately after? Didn't he go to the Cowboys? Lead Quincy Carr to the playoffs?
He went from the Giants to the Jets. No, Giants, Jets, Patriots, Cowboys.
So, in this scenario, right now, the Cowboys
that's what I'm saying. Patriots, Cowboys. Yeah, so I was right. Yeah, he went Patriots, Cowboys.
Are currently the 6th seed. If the playoffs were today, they would play the 49ers in the wild card round. We know how that game's going to end. Mike McCarthy gets fired. That's it. That's the Bill spot. Because
I just feel like Dan Quinn's getting that promotion. I feel like they're just waiting to give Dan Quinn that job.
I don't think Dan Quinn.
Listen. Hey, I just want to get out in the front right now and say, I hope to God they do that. I would be so happy.
That's
to promote Quinn from within.
Yeah, be the most Cowboys thing in the world. Having like a good couple head coaching options and being like, it would, literally be identical, right? A former failed head coach, good options, right? The coordinator from Detroit is available, and they're like, nope, we're not going to interview anyone. Dan Quinn.
I really just don't think Dan Quinn wants to be a head coach. I think he's cool with just drawing up plays.
And if anything, like we've seen this movie before when Parcells was there, like when Jimmy Johnson was there too. Jerry wants too much control still. The Jones family wants too much control, and I don't think Bill's going to want to deal with that. They want a head coach that they can more or less can just be their puppet. And that's kind of what they've been. Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett, now Mike McCarthy. They're never going to go for that big home run head coach because the Jones family wants too much control.
And how many Super Bowls has that gotten them?
Hey, I'm not saying
I don't think they're going to change. Yeah, we're not saying it's right.
I also think it's tough to say, but we might be giving Jerry Jones a little too much like power here. He just talks a lot. Stephen Jones really does actually do a lot in terms of that roster construction. But I think it's more likely that Bill, when he gets done with the Patriots, he is done coaching. Like he's just, it's fine. Like he's done everything you can possibly do in the NFL.
Yeah.
There's no reason to keep going.
Well, there is one thing he didn't prove that he could do. Win a Super Bowl without Tom Brady.
Yeah, the one that was
we are going to be so dumb about that.
Tom Brady will always have won the breakup, but the consolation prize of being Bill Belichick and winning 7 Super Bowls, being arguably the greatest coach of all time, not a bad consolation prize. I honestly think the quieter this happens, the better, because for Tom Brady, obviously he won the Super Bowl and that was great for him, but everything that happened after that Super Bowl was a little depressing. I think sometimes people just, especially in this situation, you just need to be quiet and go. I'm saying this as he has 2 wins, but it's time. Just hang him up.
It's fine to ride off into the sunset. You don't.
That shaking of the head with that Bailey Zappi late pick was.
No, hold on. Do you know what would be the coolest thing in the world?
What?
like the Breaking Bad guys, right?
I love where this is going. All right, continue.
With their mezcal liquor.
Okay.
Tom Brady, Bill Belichick make a tequila.
Oh,
and
wow.
They both retire and just travel around.
There's no way they're cool, right? There's no way they're cool.
I think they're
I
fine.
think they are.
I
think so?
I think a business. First off, Tom Brady. That is the most Tom Brady thing in the world. Bill Belichick retires and they immediately start a business. Like,
how many businesses is that going to interfere with his Delta Airlines position, or is that like how
or
would
the
be able to fit
TB12 business, or the one with the fake doctor?
God, that.
Isn't
I don't
that
think
the
he ever
TB12
calls games. By the way,
That
y'all
is
think
the
so?
TB12
I don't think he
business.
ever winds up in the Fox booth. I don't think that ever happens.
I don't think Bill likes talking to people.
I mean, no, not Bill. I'm talking about Tom.
Brady.
Like with the Fox deal. Like I don't think Tom ever makes it into the
I'm
booth.
pretty sure
Yeah,
that got
neither of
like
them.
terminated already. Like they just.
Oh, did
'cause
they?
Olsen's, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Interesting. And Olsen's really good. I like
Olsen's
Olsen.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Once you become an owner of a team, you really can't commentate. on
Yeah.
it.
Well,
And here's the
also,
thing.
I didn't know Adam Marcelletto was calling games, and he called the Falcons this week.
He's been calling games for a while.
I never realized that Adam Marcelletto was calling games.
He's
It's
like the seventh guy for CBS.
interesting. Well, rightfully so. With not for Adam, I'm just saying.
I mean, hey,
he's getting the seventh
and
CBS
I
broadcast
hear-
for what we got.
And I hear everybody talking, right off into the sunset and whatnot, and that's probable that it could happen. Or we just get batshit crazy. Tom Brady comes out of retirement, so does Gronk, and they all reunite in Washington, and it's great.
Oh my God.
Okay, man, we're not doing the 2021 Undertaker Kane DX match in
Yes,
Saudi
we
Arabia. That is nobody wants to see that.
Jarrett, every day, everything's pro wrestling for Jarrett.
Everything's pro
'cause-
It
wrestling.
is.
Yeah.
Everything is pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Everything's pro wrestling.
Evan, now is the time for the Jaguars 49ers talk. We talked last week how it would go coming into this podcast. Somebody would come into this podcast unhappy. We now have takes, full-on indictments that JP's having to push back against of like Trevor Lawrence was not the guy we thought he was, and that CJ Stroud was actually the prince who was promised. And are we sure the Jaguars are good? Are we sure the Jaguars offense isn't cooked? And now Zay Jones probably gone, and rightfully so for the rest of the year. You look at their wide receiver groups. You were talking about Calvin Ridley being used in the wrong position potentially in their wide receiver grouping. It went awry in every possible way. So before JP defends his Jacksonville Jaguars and the 6-3 Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, so I mean, so first and foremost, let's get it out of the way, right? The Jaguars lost to Sam Darnold. Okay, those are facts. That is an indisputable fact. Sam Darnold was the quarterback that kneeled to beat the Jaguars. So the Jaguars losing to Sam Darnold. Let's just get that out of the way. Now that we know that happened, I will say I'm loving this. The 49ers are back. Inevitably, they're back. But as a 49ers fan right now, the world is insane. You win 5 games in a row. The 5th game being you beat the best defense in the NFL and you beat the brakes off them. I'm like, the 49ers will never lose again. They're going to win the Super Bowl. This is decided. They then proceed to lose 3 games to decent, arguably good teams, but they should have won all of those games. And they lost all 3. And I'm like, okay, well, can a trade even fix this? Is the defensive coordinator just royally cooked?
Guess what that trade did?
Well, I'm like, is Steve Wilkes like really like is this defensive scheme so different from what he's comfortable with doing that it's just work like it's not gonna work, like we're screwed? And then they come back and play the 6-2 Jacksonville Jaguars, coming off a 5-win streak. The number 1 overall pick, Prince, who was promised, literally has hair like Jesus, Trevor Lawrence. And they beat him 34-3. They don't score a single touchdown. Trevor Lawrence throws no touchdowns and has 2 interceptions and a fumble. I'm like, yes, I'm ecstatic. The 49ers are winning the Super Bowl again. Everything is great. I'm so happy. But like, I just have really spooky vibes about this season. Tonight was another indication of it. Nothing makes sense. Like every time you think you have a grip or a handle on how this NFL season is going, you get this crazy curveball. But let's cover the 49ers stuff because it is necessary. Brock Purdy, maybe the best game he's ever had. Brock Purdy currently is the number one in EPA for the entire NFL quarterback group. His EPA right now is higher than the highest point Matt Ryan's was the Super Bowl year that they lost, the 28-3 game, which is, remember, that's Matt Ryan's best year ever, one of the best offenses you've ever seen. Chase knows that full and well. That was a very good Matt Ryan. Brock Purdy,
you don't have to talk about the end of
had
it,
throws in this game. I mean, we could talk about the Kittle throw first, because that was maybe one of the prettiest throws I've seen as a 49ers fan in my adult life, right? Like defense in his face, falling backwards, breadbasket throw to George Kittle. Gorgeous. It was great to see George Kittle. George Kittle got a touchdown, right? Like we've been waiting for it a little long. Debo got a rushing touchdown, just like the good old days. Ayuk got a touchdown. Even Juice got a touchdown. So, Christian McCaffrey didn't, but, he's had enough. He had a good run. It was just, the 49ers had a few of these along the way, but it was a perfect game. Through and through. It's a perfect game. Is Brock Purdy elite? Or is he elite?
No.
I agree. But still, right now he is. I don't know. I will say it is the one thing I do want to say, because I did think about this a lot. As a 49ers fan, I've said this before, all I can ever think about is, can they win the Super Bowl? Because I've seen a lot of big runs that don't amount to anything. So for me, it's Super Bowl or nothing. And I see what happened when Trent Williams was gone and when Debo was gone for those games. And I see how they struggled. And then they come back and they play well, and that's great. And I just kind of worry, does Kyle Shanahan need everything to be perfect for him to win? That's a big worry that I have right now. Like, do they need to be fully healthy throughout the playoffs so we can have these type of games? I don't know.
10 targets for Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. Is that something that the Niners just do, or is this something with the Jaguars that they did not have a handle and they can't?
Hold on. It is something they do. They are obsessed with Christian McCaffrey to a point that it bothers the hell out of me. But there was the end of the game where they very clearly were trying to get Christian McCaffrey.
Trying to get him that record. I respect it, honestly.
And honestly, Doug Peterson after the game talked to Kyle and was like, hey, I get it, man. He's a former player.
I respect it.
You know what I mean? Like, why not? So I think they have an obsession. Kyle has an obsession with Christian McCaffrey. Kyle has had George Kittle. He's had Brandon Ayuk. He's had Debo Samuel. These are some of the most exciting athletic offensive players in the NFL. And it pales in comparison to how Kyle has acted since he's gotten Christian McCaffrey. Like, this is a guy with an injury history. And every single week, Kyle's like, don't care. Christian McCaffrey. What'd you see, JP?
All right, so you want to know what happened? Shit happens. Like that's really shit happens. I think the biggest thing for the Jaguars was it's really hard to win a game when both and the other team knows you can't block. Like that's the offense is built in such a way that they try to be efficient with the run game, screens, winning in the intermediate areas of the offense or of the field. First of all, that doesn't really work against the 49ers because I think everybody took the Nick Bosa quote about making Trevor Lawrence go to his other reads. I think everybody took that way out of proportion because that's what they do to every quarterback in the fucking league. Like they do that to everybody. They want to take away the RPOs and the quick game. They want you to think that you can't drop back and throw the ball because of the pass rush. So you're forcing them to throw it quick and they can close the gap with the speed they have on defense. The problem is that is exactly how Jacksonville plays. They don't generate explosives because they want to be a methodical, quick offense. But you can't do that if you can't block. They were outmatched up front. Like, that's really the biggest thing offensively. You cannot win if you cannot block. Second of all, the Jaguars did not have a great game plan passing game-wise. They knew they were going to see a lot of man. This game played out like how the 49ers defended the Cowboys, which makes sense because both those offenses are very similar in terms of their problems and how they approach offense. They both want to be very methodical, very quick game, brutally efficient offenses. But that does not work for the Cowboys specifically. They have the offensive line, but not the receivers. The Jaguars have the receivers, but not the offensive line. Which problem would you rather have? I don't know at this point. But they don't have – Trevor Lawrence was hitting his back foot and did not have anybody to throw the ball to.
Was it separation or scheme?
Both. The problem for the Jaguars is Zay Jones might be the most important receiver on the team. And there are multiple reasons for that. First of all, Zay Jones is the only receiver over 6'2" that they can trust. Second of all, he is their verticality in the offense. He opens up a lot of the mid-range game for Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk. Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk are very similar receivers in terms of how they are best used. But the problem is they only use Christian Kirk for the motions and free releases and not Calvin Ridley. So it makes Calvin Ridley into a stationary, static X receiver. You don't have to do that, but you have to put somebody on the outside with Zay Jones hurt. Who are you going to put there? Elijah Cooks? Tim Jones? Tim Jones might have been the best receiver yesterday because he was the only one who could catch a pass. But the problem was Trevor Lawrence was hitting his back foot, and either nobody was open or the pressure was in his face. Like, it's really hard to win that way. I think people lost during the 5-game win streak that this offense still wasn't perfect. This offense was not moving at its best. Trevor Lawrence was able to get rid of the ball and mitigate pressure so well that it kind of masked everything. But you can't do that against the 49ers because they close gaps and close speed so quickly. The run game has not been efficient. Like, I think they have a few big Travis Etienne runs, and in between that are gains of 1 yard, 2 yards, negative yards. Tank Bigsby is a walking turnover at this point. He had another drop pass that led to an interception. I think the Jaguars will be fine despite all of that. They will be fine. I think the issues that they have can be fixed. I just need to know that, like, next week is going to be a very big game. I think that is next week in week 12, very big games in terms of the morale of this team. Honestly, like, this is a really dumb theory that I was talking about with some of my former writers at Big Cat Country. The Jaguars are better when nobody believes in them. The Jaguars are the Jaguars have always been the underdog. They have always been the team that nobody thinks can win. As soon as you build expectations, they don't perform. They always are the underdog. I don't know why, but this has been the Jaguars thing my entire existence. They do not do well with expectation. It doesn't matter the players, the coach, the fucking owners. They always are the underdogs. They always have to be the underdog. They'll be fine. This was just a game against a team that you match up very poorly against.
I'm curious about something, and you guys are all much smarter than me when it comes to the big picture of these things. But this week, look what happened to Justin Herbert, to Josh Allen, to Trevor Lawrence. These are the best quarterbacks in the NFL. They really are. Like, Josh Allen has his issues, and there's a lot going on with coaching changes, but these are elite quarterbacks. And they can't get it done. Yet you have guys like Brock Purdy out here, but it's like, do you really need everything the 49ers have just to be successful?
To be fair, I think this is really going to be really nitpicky, but Justin Herbert played a phenomenal game on Sunday. The reason the Chargers
talking
lost,
about how they have consistently
the reason the Chargers lost is because they gave up 41 points and 500 yards of offense.
But that's what I'm asking. I'm saying, like, look at how much the Niners have right now. They just traded for Chase Young. Like, is this really what the future of the NFL looks like? Like, we were talking tonight about how the Bills don't have any receivers when they have maybe the best receiver in the NFL. Like, how much talent nowadays does it really take? Like, it's so crazy.
I counter that with the Niners offense really didn't take off until Christian McCaffrey got there. Or like even before that, the Niners offense didn't take another step until Brandon Ayuk stepped up. It takes getting good players works. Like that's you need good players.
Breaking news.
Not only do you need good players, you need like at least like passable players. The Chargers defense is really bad. That's really the biggest thing. Like Justin Herbert.
That's what happens when you have an offensive first coach.
Oh yeah,
that's why you got to get a defensive-minded coach in there. And
Justin Herbert and the Chargers scored.
Okay.
Justin Herbert and the Chargers scored with 3 minutes and 42 seconds left to tie the game. They did not touch the ball the rest of the game. Like it happens. Josh Allen and the Bills. I don't know, man. That's just Josh Allen's game is gonna be. For his entire career, this has been the Josh Allen thing. He is going to have the big wow splash plays. He's also going to do some really dumb shit. Like that's just it. There is no quarterback that is scheme proof or like you can't surround him with good players. I mean, the only quarterback that you can really say that about is Patrick Mahomes, but we're seeing now that's being pushed to its absolute limit.
Yeah.
So I think it's more what's going on with NFL offenses this year is multiple things. Defenses are finally catching up. Remember, for a period between like 2018 to like 2020, offenses were blowing the fuck up. And defenses were stuck in the Gus Bradley, the Gus Bradley, Seattle Legion of Boom, cover 3, and then Kyle Shanahan basically pantsed Dan Quinn and the Falcons in the or not Dan Quinn and the Falcons. It was the Seahawks game in I think 2016. I think Kyle Shanahan has talked about this game at length. How he like studied that defense for years and came up with specific plays to beat that defense. It came to a point where all the Shanahan, McVays, they start popping up and they can always beat those Legion of Boom defenses. So then defenses had to adjust. And now they finally adjusted to the point where they're taking away the explosive plays. You're not going to see big explosions of points anymore. You got to get the methodical offenses. You got to be able to move the ball within the 6 to 10 yard range. The Niners can do that because they have so many dudes and they also have a scheme that allows them to create so many matchups positionally and they can run the ball really well. I think the second part of that is quarterbacks are getting younger, and with not having experience comes doing dumb shit. Like the oldest quarterback in the NFL right now is Aaron Rodgers, and he hasn't played. Then you got Kirk, and then you got Ryan Tannehill, and those guys are in their mid-30s. Like quarterbacks are getting younger, and I think that's because of the old wave of quarterbacks finally like leaving the league. And now every team is drafting a quarterback because you got to have one in the NFL. You got to have a quarterback in order to be competitive. So you're seeing a lot of young guys. I think last week, 10 rookies started last week. That's an NFL record. Like scoring's down for a reason. Like these young guys are having to play real early, and it's hard to play in the NFL. It's really hard to play in the NFL when you don't have everything going for you like you did at college. So it's a multi-pronged thing. But I think it's really cool that defenses have kind of taken the baton back from opposing offense. I mean, we can look at it through lens of like coaching hires or potential coaching hire candidates. The guys we're talking about, like outside of Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Lou Anarumo, we're talking about guys D'Amico Ryans, who got a job last year. Like we're talking about defensive guys who have changed the game. And now it's time for offenses to punch back. So there's probably going to be like a little lull in scoring. It happened last year. It's happening this year. It'll probably happen again until offenses figure out a counterpunch because that is the cyclical nature of football.
Interesting. Well, there you go. Tape don't lie. I'm curious about this for you, Jarrett. Just how good is Broderick Jones for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He's amazing, dude. You look at the Steelers' run game, like before he became a starter, and then these past few weeks when he has been the starter. So yards before contact per attempt in weeks 1 through 7, the Steelers were 30th. In the past 2 weeks, they're second. And then you look at the plays in which they utilize some sort of pooling offensive lineman. In the first weeks 1 through 7, they ran 16 of those kinds of plays. The last 3 weeks, they've ran 22 of them. So Broderick Jones is the lead blocker usually when they run these pulling plays. Either he's pulling to the left, or when they do pull to the right, he's getting to the second level and they're running it to him. These runs we saw with Najee Harris and the touchdown that he had against Tennessee on the opening drive, where Broderick Jones very easily got to the second level and they ran that play off of Broderick Jones. So he's been tremendous, and it's helping out the other guys too. Like with Mason Cole had a really nice game yesterday against the Packers, and he struggled this year a lot at center. The left side of the offensive line played really. Isaac Samalo and Dan Moore are playing well. So I think he's really lifted the entire unit as a whole, and that has led to the Steelers being, over the past 2 weeks, one of the best run teams in football. They ran for 205 yards against the Packers. Now, it comes with the built-in caveat, I guess, that the Packers are really bad at defending the run. But the Steelers are also really bad at running the ball throughout the first 7 weeks of the year. So the fact that they were able to do it not just in one game, but in 2, it shows the value that Broderick Jones has. And as just a pure athlete that he is in space blocking downfield, it has done wonders for guys like Najee Harris, who aren't quite as explosive as Jaylen Warren. But the run game has benefited so much from it. And Steelers are 6-3 now. And if they win this week, I think I saw, so right now they have a 70% chance of making the playoffs. If they beat Cleveland this week, they've about an 81% chance of making the playoffs. Wow. So they're in a good spot in terms of getting to the playoffs, but they have a whole other set of underlying issues of why I don't think they'll go far. But, you know, for a team that a lot of people didn't really see doing much this season, it's a good place to be in.
Do you guys want to know something funny? If the playoffs were to end today, the Pittsburgh Steelers would be traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins,
where they would lose by 97 points.
Talk about
Are we sure?
Teams, talk about two teams playing completely different sports. Right now,
but I mean, what is the Dolphins' record against teams like the Steelers? What's their record against good teams? What is it? Something crazy.
Okay, counterpoint. The Steelers aren't a good team.
Aren't a good team. Okay, they have a winning record. There's a large difference.
They've been outgamed in every game.
Yeah.
They are just the Steelers are what the Patriots thought they were going to be this year. It's just very funny.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I've been saying this in all my columns for Behind the Steel Curtain and all these picket idiots, as we're trying to trademark apparently on Twitter now, that slide into the comments of these sections saying, they keep winning, man. Pickett's a winner. Yeah, dude, that's awesome. You can win games against bad teams with a quarterback going 14-23 for $126. Good luck doing that against Miami when Tua's got 5 touchdowns in the first half and you're down 30 going into halftime. Then we'll see how much Kenny Pickett can really do. You know, there's a very clear ceiling on the Steelers team in this style of play, and it doesn't help that Cole Holcomb and Quan Alexander are both gone for the year now. But this offense, man, it is not designed to win deep in the playoffs. This is not a team that can travel, to the AFC title game.
But what if they win the North?
If they win the North, I mean,
they're an AFC championship team.
I think that the best case scenario for the Steelers is that if they do get to the playoffs, they draw Baltimore in the wild card round. Because they match up so well with the Ravens. Lamar Jackson has never played the Steelers well. He has one win against the Steelers in his career, but in that game he threw 3 interceptions, and the game went into overtime. The Steelers won the toss. Mike Tomlin deferred in overtime, gave the Ravens the ball. The Ravens went 3 and out. The Steelers were marching, and then Juju Smith-Schuster fumbled. By the way, Duck Hodges was the quarterback for this game because Mason Rudolph got knocked the fuck out by Earl Thomas. And Juju fumbled, Marlon Humphrey peanut punched him, and then Justin Tucker kicked a game-winning field goal. So Lamar Jackson has never played a good game against the Steelers. The Steelers, I think, have won. I tweeted it about it yesterday. I think they've won like 6 of the last 7 matchups with Baltimore. If the season ended today and the Steelers play Baltimore in the wild card round, I think they win. I think that is their best chance of advancing in the playoffs is if they draw Baltimore.
The Steelers' best matchup in the playoffs is any other AFC North team.
Yeah.
They have to just not the Bengals,
though. Yeah.
not the Bengals, but any other AFC North team. It can be the Browns, but that game would end 6-3.
Game would be the dumbest, ugliest football game of the last 20 years.
But I do think Jarrett is onto something with Broderick Jones and how that offense has changed and why I think Najee Harris has looked so good. We talked about it before Broderick Jones got inserted into the line. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Najee Harris is a gap scheme runner. He is a get behind the puller and get north. That's what Broderick Jones does. I think there are still some issues with technique, which is, of course, because he's a rookie, but just put your best athletes on the field. That has been the thing that's irked me about the Steelers. And in terms of not playing Broderick Jones is offensive line looked bad. Just put your best athlete, just put your first round pick on the field and see what happens. And then they did. It's like, I'm not saying they're equal in terms of like who Broderick Jones is going to be, but the Lions put Penei Sewell at right tackle immediately, and he didn't miss a beat. Like this could
he got
be
better
like,
as he played.
He got better as he got reps. Like that's the same thing that's happening with Broderick Jones. You just put your best athletes on the field.
And it's not only Broderick either. Like Keanu Benton is starting to get a lot more snaps because Montravius Adams went down and he had a really good game against Green Bay. Joey Porter Jr. is now finally officially a starter. He allowed Christian Watson to have 2 catches for 23 yards against Green Bay. Like all of these rookies that they took very high are really paying off early on. And obviously it's very on, but the return on investment that they've already had with a first round pick and 2 second round picks it's been very promising to see.
Well, there you go. Evan, do you have a 2-minute hot take for us this week?
Yeah, the Seahawks are frauds.
Oh, here we go. All right. Make the case. The Seahawks are frauds. You're done with the Seahawks, the formerly top NFC West team, Seattle Seahawks.
The Seahawks are frauds. I mean, they're frauds. They've beaten the Rams, the Jets, the Niners beat excuse me. Let me get into it though. Like they've lost to the Rams. Excuse me. They had a really close game against the Lions early in the season when nothing was real. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Giants. They lost. You know what I mean? Like they beat the Cardinals. They beat the Browns. They're frauds, dude. They played the Ravens and they lost 37-3. They keep getting these like barely win games, but everyone just is reminiscent of the Seahawks of the past when the Niners had, went, what was it, like 11 or whatever. And then the next season, it was the Legion of Boom. Like they have some really, really great young players. The core there is good, but this is a team that will get blown out in the playoffs.
So you just pointed out that they beat the Browns. Those are the same Browns that beat the 49ers, correct?
Yeah. No, I said they had a close game. I'm not saying I'm just saying like the games that they have right now are very close games. The games where they've played like really good teams, like the Ravens, they got destroyed. The Seahawks
beat Detroit in overtime. Detroit, I think right now is a top 5 team.
Again, they've won some close games. Listen, man, I'm telling you, the Seahawks are frauds. If they
I don't think that you have to win every game by 30 to be a good team. That's my point.
I don't know if they make the playoffs.
So
they're 6-3, bro.
Here's my thing for the Seahawks. Right now they have the first wild card spot, which means they get the honor of facing whoever wins the AFC South. Or the NFC
but saying
South.
they first wild card, have you looked at their schedule?
Like, look,
the NFL allow Falcons Seahawks as a playoff game. When they allow that on TV, what do they put that on?
I'll let you guys say whatever you want to say. Let's get it out of the way, though. The Seahawks have to play the Rams, whatever. The Niners twice, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Steelers.
That's
rough.
That Cowboys game is going to be huge because
the Cardinals. And by the way, the Cardinals. All of a sudden, Kyler Murray is back and he's playing really well.
Well, hold on. That's the Falcons in a lot of ways.
That Cowboys game is going to be really huge for both teams because both teams want to avoid San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Both teams want the NFC South. Like they want the NFC South winner.
Listen, I hate the Seahawks with every inch of my being, and even though I hate them that much, it's very reasonable that they could lose 4 games. That's not a homer take.
I mean, yeah, but I think The Dallas game is going to be really big. Like I want to see how they match up against a team like Dallas, who.
Guess where it's at?
It's in Dallas. I want to see how they play against a Dallas team that kind of excels at points where they're not the best at. But I also think they match up really well with the Cowboys in terms of they have multiple DBs who can guard CeeDee Lamb.
The only thing I will say though is they are playing the Cowboys on a long week because they play the Niners the week before on a Thursday. So they do get a couple extra days, which, I'll give them that. But that couple extra days comes from after they play the Seahawks.
I think that game against Dallas is on a Thursday, though.
It's on a Thursday, but the Cowboys also get
is it
that.
Really?
Yeah, the Cowboys also get that extra long week because both teams play on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The Niners play the Seahawks on Thanksgiving, and the Cowboys play the Commanders on Thanksgiving. So both teams are going to get a long.
Oh, that's fun. I like those matchups on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Also, I was trying to give something to the Seahawks there.
I think the Seahawks are still a good team. They just do some real they have really bad turnovers.
And also, let's talk about just it's a blender. Niners, Cowboys, Niners, Eagles.
That's a really rough stretch. I want to know who put together that schedule and was like, we're going to give them 2 Niners games.
Here's the thing. They're beating the Niners in at least in one of those. They're going to split
Hey, I'll tell you right now, you can start cutting up another shirt, buddy. I'll bet you whatever you want. I'll make you throw up all over yourself. I don't care.
The NFC West always goes like this. The Rams, Seahawks, and Niners always just it's like rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
And the Niners have always had the Seahawks number. It's just
the Niners have been beating the shit out of the Seahawks lately.
It's just they cannot defend the run.
Even when it comes to even in that stretch, if they go 9-8, they're going to be a playoff team because who's going to come and take it from them? Nobody in the NFC South outside of the NFC South winner. The NFC North, I don't think they're getting more than one playoff team.
No, they're getting 2.
So
there's 7 playoff teams, man. They're getting 2. The Vikings are making the playoffs. Josh Dobbs is playing a playoff game, sir. He's making the playoffs.
Cowboys, Eagles go. The Niners go. Vikings, Lions definitely go. I mean, the Saints,
Cowboys,
maybe
Eagles,
the Falcons.
Cowboys, Eagles, Niners, Lions, AFC South or NFC South winner. It's 2 spots.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to get them.
Seattle will have one of those
Seattle's getting one of those spots. Seattle's making the playoffs, barring some crazy injury luck or something. They're getting
unless they lose out, they'll be fine.
So right now, if the season ended today, the 1 seed are the Eagles, then the Lions, then the Niners, Saints, Seahawks, Cowboys, Vikings. And just outside of them are the Buccaneers, Commanders, and the Falcons.
Yeah, my point exactly.
So
also, what would y'all do right now? Just if you had to guess, Vikings, Lions, first round, Josh Dobbs with nothing to lose in Detroit. Would you pick Minnesota?
No.
I think it'd be very fun, but I don't think the Vikings are winning that now.
I'd probably pick the Vikings in that game.
Oh, bro.
I have the worst feeling about what's going to happen to the Lions. They're going to get the 2 seed, and they're going to get upset. I have the worst feeling about them right now.
I hope that the Lions host the NFC Championship game.
That would be the most Detroit Lions.
That's what I'm saying. I just have a bad feeling.
For them to have their best season in what is maybe over a decade, for them to get bounced in the first round, that would be the most Detroit Lions thing ever.
Yes. I just can only what Detroit fans are going to be like that first week, just all week long, just so much anxiety about just getting that one win and just enjoying a home playoff game, which is a big deal for Detroit. And then to lose it to either this version of the Seahawks or lose it to, the Vikings, lose it to maybe the Commanders. Goodness gracious. That's tough. That's tough.
I don't think it'll happen. I think bare minimum, they'll be a divisional round team. I would love to see them in the NFC title game.
I think, like Evan was talking about the Seahawks, I think that 4-game stretch is very difficult. But I think what's working for the Seahawks in their favor is the NFC kind of sucks. So.
Well, and also, too, if you actually look at – because I was looking at this. If you look at the, on the bubble NFC teams, they're all at a blender at the end of the year. Like they all have like Cowboys, Niners, Eagles games. Like it's
they're all going to lose multiple games.
Like there's no like, oh, this team might make a run. Like every team that's on the cusp is going to get dog walked for the rest.
And this is what makes the Falcons so incredibly frustrating in every sense of the word. Like to have this 3-game losing streak against who they've lost 3 straight to is absolutely demoralizing. Like it's been a rough last 3 Sundays for me.
The Seahawks could literally have not made the playoffs if the Falcons weren't so absolutely abhorrently pathetic.
But then you look at their schedule. Like I agree with you, Evan. But the schedule is absurd. They get the Saints at home. They get a bye this week. Then they go to New York to play the Jets. They get the Bucks at home. They already beat the Bucks once. Then they go to Carolina, who's awful. They'll be favored in that game. They get the Colts at home. They'll be favored in that one. They get the Bears on the road, favored in that one. And then they'll get the Saints on the road to end
which probably decides the NFC.
Yeah.
South. But
2 7-9 teams duking it out.
Not even 7-9. It might be 6-11, Jarrett. Like whoever wins this division might be 6-11.
The problem here with the Falcons, like, yeah, they're going to be favored in all those games. Like they were favored on Sunday. Like
I'm not disagreeing. It's stupid. But I'm going to be emotionally invested. Like it's the dumb. It just sucks. Every week sucks because I'm like, look at this schedule. They should host a playoff game. Everything. I can't get worked up over this. I can't do it. It's awful. Everything about Atlanta right now is terrible.
That game both games against the Saints.
We might as well run the triple.
Stupid. It's gonna be so stupid, and
I hate it. This season's miserable. Like Chase, I'm so ready to punt this team into the sun.
Well, we were ready for you at the beginning of the season. Is there one thing that realistically they could have done this season, or even at the trade deadline, that you think could have made a difference?
I mean, not gone into the year with utmost confidence in Desmond Ridder being your guy. Like that was absurd. With Lamar Jackson and other options being available, to just be dead set like Desmond Ridder's our guy, and then be like, well, we'll bring in Heineke as a nice backup just in case. But like to just the just the confidence to be so wrong and not have a backup plan and not to really evolve this offense and draft Bijan Robinson 8 overall when it's clear you did not have a plan to utilize Bijan Robinson at all, and you're having to get bullied into using him on the opening drive and you're getting bullied into using him at the goal line. I mean, I don't know. Like, I just think the disconnect, like the Atlanta Sports Guys and I were doing the pod earlier today, and we were kind of just outlining we were putting a lot of our feelings out there on the current state of the Falcons right now. And I just think there's a disconnect, and you don't know who's the final decision maker because Rich McKay now has a director of football ops once again. He's been with the organization forever. So there's questions about that. Blank's 81. So what does Blank really want at this point, owning the team? And he's made some really bad decisions the last couple of years. Fontenot, did not hire Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith was a separate hire. So those are always weird when you bring in a GM and a coach from 2 separate interview processes, and they didn't hire each other. And then you just have all these picks that just aren't working. Like you go through the drafts, the Terry Fontenot drafts, by and large have been like, you go a couple years back, it's brutal how many guys are already gone from his first draft. And you look at where he's at. I mean, it's rough. Like the last 3, you look at Drake London, who was demoralized after this game on Sunday, talking to reporters. Then you have Kyle Pitts, which is now officially like, there's just no way to sell it. Like that's a huge miss. Like if you're going to, like, based on where Kyle Pitts is at this point, like you just have no plan. Johnny Smith's fine, but that's a disaster. Bijan Robinson not doing anything is a disaster. So you have 3 straight drafts where you draft a playmaker, a skill position guy, and not one of those 3 are having breakout years. Not one of those 3 you feel good about thriving in your head coach's system. That's 3 straight years. Like the odds of 3 straight years of these 3 guys all not being big time guys for your team. What are the odds of that? Do you know how Atlanta that is to draft those 3 guys all back to back and none of them be happy, none of them be good on this particular team? It's insane. All of them are busts. All of them. It's not their fault. I love them dearly.
I don't know if I'd call all of them busts at this point. It's just none of them.
I'm saying they're busts for the Falcons. Like the Falcons aren't going to, if Arthur Smith's back next year, like there's no path.
Well, what I was going to say is none of them are busts because none of them can throw the ball.
Yeah.
I think that's the added context behind those picks of like, well, not even like for Bijan. Like by that point, there was no quarterback.
But you could have traded up.
You could have.
I mean, it's insane to me. It's insane to me that we could sit here and just say all the negative things about taking Bijan Robinson, which is incredible as he is, was terrible. And it's like, when's the last time someone's done something like that? And it's Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
They did it twice.
Like,
it's insane.
You know the funniest thing? Bijan Robinson had the most touches of his career against Arizona, and they lost. Arthur Smith is never giving him the ball again. You just know he's like, see, I told you. The more we give him the ball, we lose. So he's never going to get the ball again.
Oh, my God.
The only benefit is you are in the NFC South.
I mean, it's not a benefit. We're in hell because the season's not over. Because we just have to go through this every week where we could host a playoff game. Like, we have to get up every Sunday because it's like no one wants to win the NFC South. No one. And we're just over here with the weakest schedule in football. I don't know what to do. This is I don't know. Every week it's just...
You're literally in purgatory. It's purgatory. That's what it is.
No, purgatory, at least there's a chance you might get out.
No.
In this administration, in our current situation, we're not getting out.
Purgatory to you?
What do you mean? Purgatory, you're in the middle. You can get out. You can go one way or the other. Have y'all never seen the Tooth Fairy?
Dude.
No, not
Purgatory.
Tooth Fairy. Toothless.
A place or state of suffering inhabited by the souls of, well, no, not having the quantity. That's not also okay. I don't want the religious definition. And infernal punishments are purgatory. Okay, listen.
What is happening over there? What are you looking at?
Well, they're just giving me like the real
You went to the
religious
Book of Revelation
section.
section.
Yeah, definition.
Purgatory. But yeah,
purgatory, I just think middle.
No,
that's not what purgatory is.
I think that's how we use it, though. I know what you're trying to say, Chase.
Yeah, purgatory is like infernal suffering.
Purgatory means in the middle and you can't get out.
Oh, I never interpreted it that way.
Yeah.
I always interpret you can go either way because every movie I was taught, purgatory, you can get out of it.
No, this is a Hotel California.
Toothless was a liar. Disney Channel original movie, a liar. With Kirstie Alley. Did y'all ever see it?
Okay.
No.
No, Chase. I didn't see it.
No, I've seen plenty of Disney Channel original movies in my lifetime, but that is not one of them.
I've seen my fair share of Disney.
I was gonna watch that, but I watched Brink instead.
Love Brink.
How about Minutemen? That's another good Disney Channel original.
Yeah, it's a banger. That's a banger one.
HE double hockey sticks. Johnny Tsunami was my jam.
Another good one.
Love the hat. I always wanted the urchin hat.
All good ones. All much better than
Xenon.
Kirstie Alley's
Xenon
Toothless.
girl of the 21st century. Protozoa had a banger. Super.
Okay.
Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior.
Into
Wendy
space.
Wu, it's a banger.
Which one?
Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior. Brenda Song.
Oh, I do not remember. I forgot about that one.
Banger.
Starstruck. That's my favorite one personally. That soundtrack bops.
We completely hijacked this episode.
Oh man, that's such a great.
Let It
movie.
Shine. Fantastic Disney Channel movie.
Never saw that one.
It's about rap, so
Let it shine.
Is Tyler James Williams in that?
yes.
Yeah.
What
okay,
year is
that's
this? This looks like 2012. That's post prime. You got to go back to the mid 90s, the late 90s, like Susie Q.
I wasn't born. You're talking about these movies like I was born. I wasn't alive.
I mean, but the reality is, though, it's most movies you weren't.
There's one. I remember watching a Disney Channel movie because, I remember when it happened. It was right after Michael Jackson died, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and shut up. This is how I know when it took place. And I woke up in the middle of the night. My TV was on. It was like 3 a.m, and there was this. It was a Disney Channel movie. They were riding bikes in the middle of nowhere, and a buffalo appeared out of nowhere, and they started singing "We All Need Someone to Lean On." I don't know what movie this is. If there's a listener who knows what movie
I have no
it
idea
is,
what that is.
but it was a Disney Channel movie.
Boy, you was off a perk 3000.
I was like 9.
There's no way that movie.
I'm looking it. I'm looking it up. Just Disney Channel movie with buffalo and bikes. That's what I'm going.
It's probably Luck of the Irish, maybe. I don't know.
Luck of the Irish is a good one.
Luck of the Irish
is
is a really good one. I don't know if
remember the dance they do at the end where they all come together, the tap dancing, the Irish dance. It's a banger. Love that one. Luck of the Irish was a good one. Halloween Town.
It's called Buffalo Dreams. It was a real movie, so
okay.
When was that made?
That's got to be another one. Okay.
It's not real.
There you go. Jarrett Bailey, what can the good folks check out from you all across the internet this week?
Power rankings on USA Today. I'm going through as well on USA Today, predicting every team's remaining schedule, which will decide who I think is going to make the playoffs, and then I'll go through the playoffs and decide who I think is going to win the Super Bowl. So that'll be coming this week as well. Pump Fake on Tuesdays and Fridays. So that'll be taking place. I don't think I'm leaving out anything. The all breakout team as well. So mid-season, who stood out, in terms of having a breakout year. One of your Atlanta Falcons is on there, Chase, Nate Landman, and he had a big game.
Oh yeah, no, he's a dude. He's a lot of fun.
I wrote it up and it came out Saturday, and then Sunday he balled, so I felt really good about putting him on there. So
he's a good player. Troy Anderson getting hurt opened the door for him, and he's been really good.
He's had a very strong year. So go read the all breakout team. The all disappointment team is also on USA Today. So both ends of the spectrum that you get there, and then all the Steelers stuff behind the steel curtain.
There you go, JP. What about you over at SB Nation and everywhere else?
We got a pretty cool piece coming out tomorrow, mid-season awards. We all pitched in, see who we could give awards to. Unfortunately, no Falcons made the list.
Not one?
Not one.
Youngwick who?
Nope. Ace Steeler made the list, and it was actually me who picked the Steeler. Outside of that, got a bunch of stories coming out. Establish the Fun every Friday. Fun will be established very hard. So check that out. And I will also be on Twitter just talking about random things. I might be talking about Disney Channel movies now that I'm thinking about it. And that's that.
Yeah, I think we need a review of
Toothless.
And Buffalo
I just sent
Dreams.
you the link. Yeah. Toothless.
Okay. I'll try and find that movie on Disney Plus. If they don't have it on Disney Plus, then that says.
Well, they don't have everything, which drives me nuts. They don't have Susie Q on there. They don't have Toothless. I don't think they don't have some of those old OG like grainy pre-fun Disney Channel original movie stuff where it got really, really big with like Hannah Montana and all that. You got to get in the beginning stages with the Brinks, the Johnny Tsunamis, the Alley Cat Strike.
I think
like,
you got to
really
Brink.
Get in there.
You got to watch Brink. If you haven't seen Brink, like. It is genuinely campy but funny.
That's right up your alley. Brink is I could see that being your favorite.
I think you'd love to write about Brink.
Brink's a banger.
I'm trying to see if I've seen it before. Like
Soul Skating, bro.
So I looked up
Soul Skaters, man.
I looked up the photos of Brink. I think I've seen it before. I might have been little, like very little, but I'm gonna check it out.
Worth revisiting.
Yeah.
Yes,
Soul Skaters.
Like
that ending with the whole control
your mouth,
yourself.
Chase.
Like the whole the last race. I'm not ruining it. I'm just saying there's a last race. You would assume there's going to be a last race, but that whole ending sequence, I'm just like, it gets me pumped. I should listen to that before every podcast because I am like getting chills thinking about it. Where you have the sound in my earballs right now, just going control yourself.
Wow, we should make that a GIF.
Another later era Disney Channel movie, Lemonade Mouth.
Sometimes I feel like we do these podcasts too late, bro. Like I feel like you're maybe a little too delirious right now.
Oh, right. I do want to say this too because I don't know if we were going to get to it before we close out because we have gone for a while. But in terms of we talked about pro wrestling earlier. 18 years ago, Eddie Guerrero passed away, and in terms of just one of the pioneers of the sport and just how awesome Eddie Guerrero was. Like I didn't recognize it at the time because I was still very young when he passed. But like as I grow older and realize how awesome Eddie Guerrero was, it's very evident. Like he's a perfect story for overcoming demons, righting your wrongs, and his story ended so prematurely. But the fact that it ended after a triumph and knowing that he was so loved, both inside the ring, outside the ring, and all walks of life is awesome. So cheat to win, lie, cheat, steal, Viva La Raza forever, Eddie Guerrero. Awesome dude, awesome wrestler, and always remembered, forever missed.
Shout out to the custody Dominic match. Still one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Hilarious.
It was.
Where the fuck is Vicky?
I remember. I watched that. I ordered that pay-per-view back in the day. Like I was ordering pay-per-views and
wow.
Yeah, it's back in the day. SummerSlam. All right, y'all. Well, thank you as always, JP, Evan, Jarrett. Always a pleasure, and I'll talk to y'all next week.